Welcome. You've joined us for another deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're tackling a really interesting idea, the world Christian movement. This is based on Ralph D. Winter's work.
Right. And we've got some compelling material here. It's framed almost like an invitation, really.
An invitation for you listening to see how you might fit into this huge global effort. It's definitely painted as something much bigger than just, missionaries heading overseas one by one.
Exactly. So our goal with this deep dive is to really unpack what this movement actually is.
Okay.
To explore the maybe surprisingly diverse ways people contribute. And I think crucially to help you listening figure out how your own skills, your passions might plug in.
Even if you don't picture yourself as a, quote, traditional missionary somewhere far away.
Precisely. That's the key point.
What grabbed me straight away in this reading was the analogy it uses, how it describes the whole mission effort. It's not just a few individuals, but like a full-scale war effort. Or even, this is interesting, the oil industry.
Right. That oil industry comparison is quite vivid, isn't it?
It really is. You think about oil, okay, sure, you've got the people actually drilling the wells, the frontline folks.
Mm-hmm.
But then you've got the refineries turning crude into usable stuff. You've got the diplomats negotiating deals, the geophysicists finding the reserves in the first place, using all this tech.
It paints a picture of this huge interconnected system, right? So many different but vital roles.
Exactly. And that's the core idea Winter seems to be getting at.
Yes. He argues the world Christian movement is this kind of vast, sophisticated international undertaking.
He even calls its core the mission industry.
He does.
Mm-hmm.
And that term emphasizes that it's built on professionals, on dedicated organizations. It's not just scattered efforts. I mean, the scale.
Yeah.
In the U.S. alone, we're talking billions of dollars a year. Billions.
Wow. Okay, so let's dive into this mission industry concept a bit more. The text immediately makes a really important distinction.
Uh-huh. Between missionaries?
Right. The teams working cross-culturally on the ground.
And mobilizers.
Yes. The people who rally the support for those missionaries. And the text stresses they're both absolutely essential.
Absolutely essential. And crucially, they depend on each other within this mission industry. Winter specifically says William Carey wasn't a loner.
That's a great point. Even a figure we think of as a pioneer.
Right. He operated within a bigger structure, people back home enabling his work, support networks.
Which I guess leads into this warning the text gives about ignorant detachment.
Yes. That's put quite strongly.
The idea being there's already this huge body of wisdom, practical experience, lessons learned, sometimes the hard way, I imagine.
Oh, undoubtedly. Mistakes have been made.
Within this movement. So to just ignore all that, the text says it's like beating the air.
Wasting time and energy, basically. Not building on what others have already figured out.
Yeah, makes sense.
And what's fascinating is the call for you, the listener, to become a student of this mission industry.
Right, not just jump in blindly.
Exactly. Actively learn about the different parts, the organizations, the history, so you can find where your unique skills and passions fit best.
The underlying idea seems to be that everyone is kind of uniquely shaped for some part in this global thing.
That's the conviction, yes. God has formed you for a valuable role.
Okay, so what are the different parts? What makes up this mission industry? The text starts with mission agencies.
Yes, and it splits them into two useful types. First, service missions.
Service missions. Okay.
These are groups that mainly exist to support other mission work. Think Major Aviation Fellowship.
Right, the pilots flying into remote areas.
Exactly. They're not preaching directly, maybe, but their work is foundational. They make other work possible. You also have literature missions.
It's getting Bibles and books out there.
Bible translation agencies. I mean, imagine the impact of getting scripture into someone's heart language for the first time.
Huge.
And missionary radio, too, using quite sophisticated tech now to reach isolated places.
So that's service missions, the support structure.
Then you have what the text calls standard missions.
Standard missions.
These are more what people might typically picture, directly involved in meeting human needs, medical work, education, church planting, community development, things like that.
And the text really emphasizes the value of these agencies for long-term impact.
Yes, exactly. Sustaining efforts over time, passing on knowledge from experienced workers to new ones, building something that lasts. It's not just about short-term projects.
Okay, that makes sense. Sustained effort.
And feeding into these agencies, you have the training institutions.
Seminaries, Bible colleges.
Right, where people get the foundational learning, theology, linguistics, language study, anthropology for understanding cultures, mission history, and missiology itself.
Missiology,
Yes.
the actual study of missions.
Yes, the academic discipline. And interestingly, it mentions distance education becoming more common now.
Making it more accessible.
Definitely. But it also stresses that, local face-to-face mentoring is still incredibly important for growth, personally and spiritually.
It even gives an example, the World Christian Foundations Program, combining work and study.
Right, with mentoring built in, so people can get degrees while they're already involved in ministry. It's quite innovative.
Okay, so agencies, training, what's next?
Next up, mission associations, societies, and publications.
Ah, the networking and info side of things.
Pretty much, think of them as hubs. Groups like Cross Global Link, used to be IFA,
Right.
and the Mission Exchange, formerly EFA. They connect evangelical agencies, help them work together effectively, share best practices, like a trade association for missions.
That's a good way to put it.
And the author really encourages listeners to engage with their meetings, read their publications, stay plugged in.
It sounds like professional development, really, like in any field.
Yeah.
Connect with peers, learn new stuff.
Absolutely. And it mentions specific publications, too. Mission Frontiers.
Like a free newsletter, right? Keeping you updated.
Yeah, newsprint bulletin style. Then more academic journals like Evangelical Missions Quarterly and the International Journal of Frontier Missiology.
That's the ISFM one, International Society for Frontier Missiology.
That's the one. And it even notes that joining the American Society of Missiology, the ASM, gets you their journal, Missiology. So lots of resources out there to tap into.
Definitely sounds like it. Resources to stay informed.
And of course, we absolutely cannot forget the local churches.
A foundation, really.
Absolutely the foundation. The text emphasizes their crucial role. And what's fascinating is how the cause of missions often brings unity across different traditions.
Yeah, I saw that example, like Presbyterians and Nazarenes working together on the mission field.
Even if maybe back home their congregations don't interact as much, missions can bridge those gaps.
But the text also points out a challenge here. Churches often need educating.
Oh.
Mobilizing.
Yes, significant education and encouragement mobilization to really embrace this global role. Churches can easily become focused inward.
It even brings in some history, saying that, maybe surprisingly, the Reformation leaders didn't initially emphasize the Great Commission much.
That's right. It took figures like William Carey later on to really bring it back to the forefront.
And it mentions key documents like the Westminster Confession, Augsburg Confession, Nicene Creed.
Don't specifically mention the Great Commission. It's a striking historical observation.
Which leads us right back to that role of the mission mobilizer.
Exactly. Given that tendency for churches to become maybe self-absorbed, mobilizers are essential. They call the church back to its central mission to the world. The text uses this powerful image, a heart transplant, a vision.
Wow. A heart transplant.
Yeah. And it really underscores that being a mobilizer isn't like second best. It's just as spiritually vital as being the overseas missionary.
Different roles, different skills, but both crucial.
Totally interdependent. You need both. It mentions the Cambridge 7.
Famous British athletes, right?
Yeah.
Who toured before going to China.
Exactly. They spent a year mobilizing support first, and then figures like John R. Mott, Robert E. Speer, huge influencers.
But they weren't career overseas missionaries themselves.
No, but they mobilized thousands. Their impact was immense in motivating and organizing the effort.
The text also seems to anticipate a hesitation someone might have. Like, can I be a mobilizer if I haven't served overseas myself?
It does address that.
Yeah.
And it makes a point that mobilizers often gain a really broad, comprehensive view of global needs, maybe even broader than someone focused on just one location. They see the big picture.
Okay, that makes sense. You get the overview.
But it's honest about challenges, too. Mobilizers might not always get the support or understanding they need from their churches. It's not always an easy path.
Still, the main point comes back. God doesn't call everyone overseas.
Absolutely not. It gives that statistic from the student volunteer movement.
Yeah, only 1 in 5 volunteers actually went.
Right. The other 4 stayed home to support the cause, mobilizing, fundraising, praying, sending, vital roles.
Which brings us to the really practical bit, mobilizing yourself.
Yes. Before you can mobilize others, you need to be mobilized yourself. Makes sense, right?
Totally. So how?
Well, actively feeding yourself. seeking out information, going to mission conferences, reading the periodicals we mentioned, studying key books, exploring websites like perspectives.org, being intentional about learning.
And personal financial support is mentioned too.
Definitely. That principle of where your treasure is, your heart will be also. It connects you.
Plus prayer, using tools like the Global Prayer Digest daily.
Yeah, focused, informed prayer. And practical things like actually writing to missionaries' emails count, offering encouragement.
Posting them when they're back on herm assignment.
Great way to connect. And just getting involved in whatever mission efforts your own local church or denomination is doing, start there.
So it then turns very directly to the listener, to you, prompting some self-reflection.
Yes. Where might you fit in this whole picture? Maybe you're a teacher. Could you bring a global perspective into your classroom?
Or a pastor. Maybe your role is to champion missions in your congregation.
Exactly. These aren't traditional overseas roles, but they can have a huge impact on the overall movement.
There's a really key line here, I thought, about focus. It stresses our main concern should be the mission cause itself.
Not personal career advancement.
Right. Echoing Jesus. Seek first the kingdom.
It acknowledges, preparation and skills matter, but the attitude should be willingness to serve where needed. Trusting that, as you focus on the kingdom, the right path, maybe even a career, might emerge. But that's not the primary goal.
The primary goal is the mission.
Yes, and the conclusion. It's really powerful stuff.
It is about faith being action.
Stepping out based on what you believe God's calling you to and trusting him with what happens next, even if you can't see the whole picture.
Like Abraham in Genesis 12.
Yeah.
Going out, not knowing the destination.
Exactly. Or Dawson Trotman, founder of the Navigators, is mentioned. That sense that the Christian life often involves moving forward without the full roadmap.
And that God often enables us to do way more than we think we can.
Right. That feeling of, I could never do that. Well, maybe with God you can.
It really culminates in this idea that God asks for everything. All we are, all we possess.
And that the hardest thing he might be calling you to could be the most significant thing.
Yeah. And it ends quoting that famous sentiment, often linked to missionaries, give up your small ambitions for the gospel.
Because following God, even if it involves sacrifice, is ultimately the most, exhilarating path, the most fulfilling.
So wrapping it all up, the core message seems clear.
Yeah. This world Christian movement is vast, it's complex, it's vital, and there are essential roles for absolutely everyone, not just the people overseas.
It's about seeing all the different needs, all the opportunities within this huge effort.
And the encouragement for you listening is, explore it. Find your place. Get informed. Connect with these resources, these organizations we talked about.
Understand that your unique contribution, wherever it might be, frontlines or crucial support, it's vital. It matters.
Absolutely. Which leads us to, I suppose, a final thought for you to chew on.
Okay.
Building on that idea of taking the first step without seeing the whole path, what's one small, concrete step you could take this week? Just one thing. To learn more or engage somehow with this mission industry.
Just a small step.
Trusting that, who knows, it might lead to something much bigger, much more significant than you can imagine right now. Something larger than yourself.